Okay, Masanao, what a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to meet. I think about a year ago there was this rumor about this new Facebook group with this new plugin, um, which came to us named the IFW. This is how I learned about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it took me kind of a while to find that Facebook group, and then I was asking some people who were using it, and then finally I managed to get to that Facebook group, and I got the plugin, and I was very surprised because it was the first plugin that really could play very dynamical on the Iwi. That surprised me in the beginning immediately.
Mhm.
Um, from my personal experience, plugins tend to be they're good sounding, but when it comes to dynamics, especially to low dynamics, it's a bit tricky there. But this one was immediately from the beginning. I just loaded up a sound and it worked. So it took me by surprise, a pleasant surprise. Um, and I think like kind of the rumor moved around, and suddenly a lot of people were starting to use it. And then I think by now it's kind of like one of the plugins that a lot of players play, and rightly so, because it's a great sounding plugin. It really emulates that classic analog quality type of sound that is very necessary, I think, also, but also very beautiful to play with and wind synthesizer. So maybe just for the beginning, um, I would love to hear a bit how this plugin came about. What do you do? I saw on Facebook that you have a certain affiliation with Korg. Um, you worked with them, or you're still working with them. So I would just love to hear what your story, where it starts from.
Okay. Let me present myself a bit. I'm Masanao Takeuchi. I'm a Japanese, and also I grew up in Japan and also only lived in Japan for now. And actually, I started to develop this plugin. I call this plugin as IFW. This is the shortened word for the instrument for wind controllers. So actually I wanted to put some names close to the EWI, EWI.
Right.
Yeah, I took this name. Actually I started this one 11 years ago because at that time I had some wind controller, the wind sound generator. I owned Akai 30 to 3020, and also that I owned 3000 as well. And in the past, I owned EUE 1000 and EWV 2000, the set of those. But I sold some of them, and when I visited Seattle for my business trip, and I went to the Guitar Center, and I found a very cheap stock of the EUE 4000. And I purchased it, and I took it to the hotel room, then I played it. But the sound is not that I expected, actually. I expected more classical type, maybe 3000, 3020, or my favorite is 1000 plus 2000. So when I returned to my home in Japan, I started to use some software synthesizer. Actually, I used the called Monopoly for the which is not the original analog version, but the plugin edition. So I connected to my EUE to my Mac, and I opened up the Monopoly, and some tweaks, some sound like filter to connect to the bass and the volume. Then I played it, and so I was a bit satisfied, but it took me time to tweak the sound to play with some dynamics, as you mentioned. So that is the reason why I started to develop the plugin. So I started and my goal there was to simulate EV 1000 plus EWV 2000. That is my favorite. So I started that one. So I researched some synthesizing technology on the internet. So I tweaked some. I at the time I didn't own the 1000 plus 2000 anymore. So I used my 3020 as a reference. So the tweaking the curve for easy and also the curve for the filter, cutoff and resonance. So I created that one. And I had my friend who is playing the UE on stage in the live concert. Then one of them found my synthesizer on the internet. Then we connected together, and I sent the latest version to him, and he played on the stage. And he said that it sounded so nice. So I continued to brush up the plugin for the 11 years. Not all through the time 11 years, but sometimes I tweaked and I updated the plugins. And for now, I'm now developing some latest version on my Mac and iPhone.
I wonder, it's just like a question, something I was wondering about. What does the iwi or wind synthesis is, how is it in Japan? We don't know much. I mean, I as a Westerner European, the scene here is quite small, quite specific. It is growing in popularity, I think, since a year or 2 or 5, let's put it maybe. I don't know too much about what's happening in Japan, but I do know, from what I see, is that there's a couple of bands, there's a couple of sounds which are very, very typical. You're talking about T-Square, that band, talking about commercial music that was produced in Japan, used a lot of old school iwi, also the Lyricon, I believe. How is it there?
I think that actually I knew the name of the T-Square, or at the time the band was called The Square. Mm-hmm. And actually I knew that band when I was in high school, so maybe it was 30 years ago. Then I just at that time I just listened. I didn't know the iwi about, so I didn't know anything about the iwi. Mm-hmm. So actually I found that there's some funds for the T-Square on the actual iwi. One of my friends on the iwi, and I borrowed that one. And that's the first time I played. So actually most of the people who is playing iwi, I think the 70% to 80% is a fan of the T-Square, I believe. I'm almost do not see other artists using that one, except for 3-4 exception.
So in other words, it is still pretty compact, pretty small.
Yeah, I think they're just small.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
But the situation could be something changed because the Roland introduced the Aerophone.
Yeah.
And also in the past, Yamaha introduced the WX series, and at that time they are not chasing the fun of the T-Square, but their sound is more generic, like the flute or saxophone or something like that. So the iwi is very specific for the synthesizer sound, like the sawtooth wave, square wave, triangle wave. Yeah. But I think that the recent players for the iwi, that the newbie players for the iwi, is not only for the fun of the T-Square, but something looking for some generic sound to play on the iwi.
You mentioned the 1000 and the 320. What is it about those instruments that you find the best? Why do you go for these instruments still?
My best is the combination of the 1000 plus 2000, because actually one of the big fan of the T-Square, and my favorite time is that maybe 30 years ago, so they are playing on live concert and then on the CD. And my favorite album is the Wave from T-Square. And I believe that they are using the player, the Takeuchi was using the 1000 at the time.
So
actually, I watched the video for the live concert, and he's playing the 1000.
Okay. And so would you say that it has to do with the engine of the 1000 or the 2000, as if we talk about the module, or is I mean, the 4000, for example, is also an instrument which has a lot of good options. I mean, I play it a lot. When I go on stage, I still take the 4000 because it's just a very portable and easy to use. And I play, of course, still the 1000, like you mentioned. I have it here with me. I love it very much for its tone quality, but also the controller physically in your hand just feels that much real, if I make any sense. It's fully it's the structure, the feel of it on your fingers, the mouthpiece, which is the old school mouthpiece, the from the original Steiner design, and not the one which the 3020 or the 4000 are using. Yeah, it's just something about really raw, if I make any sense, about the 1000, and I really like that. Maybe, as you mentioned, classical, or maybe sounds like 30 years ago, so it has a certain of would you say you feel the same, or is there any other thing that you would like to add?
I think it's the same. So my favorite part of the EV1000 is something warm. So somehow the sawtooth wave is not super sharp, but it's warm. Like maybe the cutoff frequency is a bit lower. That is my favorite part. So I'm trying to simulate that. So my favorite preset is the first one, Judd.
Yeah, Judd. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I know Judd, and I'm in touch with him, lucky enough. And this patch is a great sounding patch, but I'm not sure what it has to do with Judd, because I never heard Judd play on this patch.
Really? Actually, I don't know about Judd.
Judd is
as a person. Yeah. I know the name. Yeah.
He's a beautiful person, and I can tell you that, a very, very beautiful person. He's actually, I interviewed him in my channel. You can see it.
Really? I will
It's on the channel. I will send you later. Beautiful guy. But he never played that sound, so I don't really understand. Or maybe I missed it. I don't know. But I never heard it. But it's interesting. What I do know is that Niall actually made the original patches for the 1000. And I think, if I understand correctly, he made them kind of like last minute. Really in the last minute. So it was something that he was not supposed to do, what they asked him to do. So he did it kind of on the fly, on his way to the airport. So maybe he just made some patches and named it according to the musicians, or I don't know, could be that. It will be interesting to know that, actually. From a programmer point of view, again, because the IFW gives immediately that impression that it's made for wind players. How did you, or when you started making the plugin, what was the most important thing for you to recreate?
The important thing is that I want to read as I mentioned, my goal is to simulate the 1000 plus 2000 sound. So the most important part is to make that sound as much as possible.
Right.
So might too close. So I tweaked. Actually, I also, not only for the sound you hear, but I wanted to play the curve or some dynamics as the same. So actually, I spent a lot of time to play it and tweak it, so the curve and some parameters. Right.
So you mean the feel of how it feels to like a wind instrument?
Yeah. Actually, the IFW is not designed to be played with keyboard. Actually, when you play the keyboard, it doesn't sound, because the keyboard does not send the control change to the
Right.
breath control.
Right.
So it's always need the breath control. So it's very specific to the wind controllers.
I see. Was it difficult to create this?
Actually, it's not too difficult because there is a good framework called Juice. So actually Juice is a framework which is used as tons of commercial and independent plugins. So I also using that framework as a base to my plugin. So I just need to create the signal for the fundamental sound source like the saw wave, square wave, triangle wave, and also hard sync. And also I enabled some waveform, custom waveform like it is called I forgot the name, but some wave table.
Yeah. Okay. Are you planning? Are you still developing the IFW? Is there more versions which you like to recreate?
Yeah, actually, so I'm still working on the plugin. It's still beta, but my goal for this year to release that for the public. Remove the beta for this year. And also I'm trying to release that on iOS first, not on the Mac and Windows. Because I think that the iOS has more users there, and it's more convenient and more stable, actually.
I heard about this. I wonder, is the iOS so-called a better operating system than the OS X for Mac?
Actually, when I try to reduce the latency for me, somehow iOS is more easier than macOS 10 to tweak the latency. But for me, the hardest one is Windows. It's so troublesome. Yeah, it's so
tricky.
Bad actually. Tricky. Yeah, so tricky actually. Yeah. Every time I work on the Windows, I'm sad actually because of that difficulty. Yeah.
Interesting. And besides IFW, besides that project, are you also doing other stuff? As I said before, I saw that on your Facebook page, for example, that you worked or you're still working with Korg, or you've been a part of a team that worked with Korg.
Actually, I quit Korg 11, 12 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm now working for a different company here. But actually, I started IFW after I left the Korg. Just after I left the Korg.
And what did you do for Korg?
Actually, I was working for the software synthesizers.
Okay. So in other words, yeah, same, but just on a different type of plugin. Same idea. Great. I had the chance to play some of the Korg plugins. That was pretty. It was good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed them.
Actually, for now, I'm using all those plugins as a customer.
Okay.
So I need those plugins to create my tracks actually. So I still use the M1, Trinity, Monopoly. Those three are best for me. So actually, I'm not only using for my tracks, but I'm using those software on the stage.
I see.
For my live concert. So actually, I'm not the wind controller player, but I'm most frequently playing on the keyboards.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So those plugins are my best. I need those.
Great. Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna get bigger and bigger because I know, at least from my experiences, a lot of people are talking about the IFW. So I have a good feeling it's gonna be very popular. It's already popular, but it's gonna get even more and more. So keep doing what you're doing because I think it's great. I'm enjoying it very much. I think it's a great software. Really great job on that one.
Thank you very much.
You wanted to play some samples or some stuff?
Okay, so yeah. So let me play some original Akai sound on my 1000. But this is my 1000. Actually, I bought it 2 weeks ago
Oh, really?
on the Yahoo auction in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, that works. Actually, I spent around $500 for
Okay.
this one.
That's a good price.
This is my favorite preset chat.
Mm-hmm.
And let me switch to this one. So this one is actually 5,000,
Mm-hmm.
but the sound is not connected here. So I only have the USB port, so it's connected to my Mac to playing on the IFW, the latest version in development. It's not my favorite sound, maybe. I need to change. Yeah, this one. I don't need reverb. Yeah, still a bit different, but I think it is so close to
It's very close, yeah.
Yeah.
It is very close.
Yeah, so that's actually I named this one as the Jadish 2000.
Jadish.
Jadish.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And when are you expecting to release the official version for IFW?
Good question. Good question. Actually, I'm doing some beta version for limited to my friends only, and it's only the upload test flight. So I only needed to develop some last part for some purchasing part. Then maybe I can release this software within this year, but I cannot say when right now because there might be some unexpected issues because this is the first time I will release the software on the iOS. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also at the same time, so my software is built on the same source code. So I have the one source code to export to the iOS and Mac and Windows, and even for the Linux. Yeah, and actually I have the very preliminary version of this one.
Wow.
This is also IFW working with the Raspberry Pi.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is so beautiful because I can use the 192 kilohertz sampling rate and with 16 samples buffer. It means that only 0.1 millisecond for the latency.
Wow.
It's so responsible, so fast.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not sure how I can build the hardware, but then maybe I need some more learning to create this as hardware, total hardware.
You know what? Actually, what struck me now that I remember something. When I got the IFW, the version that was released in the groups, there were these folders that came with it, sounds patches, and there was a patch that was made by a person named Kirino.
Yeah.
And he made something that sounds like the Michael Brecker Steps Ahead lead sound. It's called like MS Tokyo.
Yeah.
I assume that he meant the live.
Because his name is Kirino-san, and he's a big fan of the Michael Brecker. His playing is so cool, actually.
Yeah, I saw him on YouTube as well. He's also busy with everything.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about the Lyricon? Did that actually made an impact in Japan as much as the Iwi did?
Yeah, actually, Lyricon today the Takeuchi, who is the lead player on the T-Square, the first time he used that is a Lyricon 1, I believe. And he changed it to the Lyricon Plus driver, and also he asked some engineer in Japan to create his own window controller called Takekon. It's very close to the Lyricon, so it looks like Lyricon, but he's original. And also he has the controller and also the rack mount sound module. So there is a set. So the Takekon plus that set is his previous one. So he was using that for the 1980s.
Okay.
Yeah, and also actually one of my friends in Hokkaido owns that. He got the module from someone, and he owns that right now.
The Lyricon one.
Yeah, no, the Takekon plus
the cut. Wow.
Yeah. He owns some Lyricon, with Lyricon 1. Yeah.
Okay. What's his name again?
He's
Or
player.
Yeah.
The professional player, you mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Takeshi Ito.
Takeshi Ito. Okay.
Yeah. Takeshi
Okay. Great. I will take a look at it.
So when you search for some video for the T Square, the front guy which has the beard is Takeshi Ito.
Ah, that's Takeshi. Okay.
Yeah. So there are several players. I think there's 3 different players for the T Square in the past, but the beard one is the Takeshi Ito.
Great. I had a chance to play Lyrical once, but I don't have a lot of experience with it. I mean, I'm very
actually I never played. So there was 3-4 of my friends on the Lyricon, some version, maybe Lyricon 1 or 2 plus driver. But I never played that one. So maybe I need to fly to Hokkaido to meet my friend to play that. Actually, I wanted to know what is the structure of the sound module. Actually, it's so unique. Actually, there's some knobs to tweak the harmonics.
Right.
Actually, I don't understand, but I want to see that the wave in the oscilloscope. So maybe then I can simulate some sound. Maybe.
Yeah. Somebody told me once. I think I spoke to Pedro Ustache. You know Pedro Ustache? Ever heard about him? He lives in California. He's really big in film scoring. He plays the Lyricon. He's very much into synthesis, hardware synthesis. I mean, really like the Euro racks with the cables and all that stuff. And he plays a lot of Lyricons. He told me once that the Lyricon is working on hertz instead of voltage. So maybe that has to do with the unique engine of it. But I don't really know too much because I couldn't. I played it once somewhere, but I don't have a lot of experience with it. But anyway, thank you. Wow, great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for taking the time. I wish you good luck with your plugin. I'll be in touch about the beta version. I think it's great.
Actually, I thought when I testing my iOS edition, I found that it's easy to launch the software, but hard to find the good equipment to play with. So you need to find the audio interface, a MIDI interface, which works with iOS. So greatly, but it requires the camera adapter first. And with the camera adapter, you need the audio interface with the connected power source, and it's so complicated. So I don't like that. That is the reason why I'm now creating this one.
Is this going to be also an official product? Are you planning to release it like that as well?
Actually, I wanted to release this one, but I needed to develop the hardware. That is my hardest part actually, because I'm a software. I only know the software.
Right.
So actually, today I created some MIDI module, but it failed. But I have one of the team member of the IFW. It's very good about two. Actually, 2 of them is very good about the hardware. So I'm learning from them to create
great
specific hardware.
I see. Okay. Well, Again, thank you, Masanao.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a pleasure. Take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.